Okay, so it's just 11 o'clock. So you ready to go there, Carol?
Sure.
Okay, great. So welcome to Tuesday Talks with FEO, post FEO Summit, and the first one after that. So thanks for joining us. And thanks to our guest, Carol Greenwood, who is going to talk to us about tourism in Ontario and how that's going to impact festivals. So for those of you who don't know Carol, Carol has 25 years of leadership and management experience in the hospitality area, and has a great rapport and relationship building skills. So she's represented Accor, Vintage, Inns, and Mississauga Tourism, in addition to her consulting firm G.A.P Solutions. Carol has management training behind her and has conducted business audits and rebuilt teams through hiring, coaching, and success-focused development. So she comes to us. She's been with TIAO for a few years, haven't you, Carol?
Yeah, 4.5, yeah.
4.5. So
except the last year felt like about 4 in its of itself, but you
know. So she comes to us knowing who we are and knowing the industry really, really well. So welcome, Carol. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. So how do you want to start with your presentation and then we'll move forward?
Yeah, why don't we do that? I mean, I'm looking at some of the people that are attending, and they're all people that I interact with on a pretty regular basis. So for some of it, it might be a bit of a review. Other parts is going to certainly be some update with some statistics, but I'm happy to meet the people that I haven't connected with before. So why don't I'm just going to share my screen and we'll go into the presentation. And I'm just, there we go. There we go.
Excellent.
Great. So as Debbie mentioned, I'm the Vice President of Memberships and Business Development at TIAO. And so, you know, TIAO really, it's first and foremost, our primary goal is we are an advocacy organization. And so we represent the tourism operators directly to the provincial government. That is not why I was hired. I was hired to be, as it says, charge of membership and business development. It's stakeholder relations, and it's really to hear your stories and communicate those with our policy team and to our president and CEO to have those messages delivered. So I've always really enjoyed connecting with people. I've enjoyed coming to the FEO conferences over the years. In fact, just before the pandemic started, it was the very last conference I attended, and it was great. There in Thornhill, Richmond Hill, right there on the border, and it's always great to be with your group. So I'm very appreciative and thankful for you to have me here today. I do want to let you know that we have a video that it really kind of gives a snapshot of all the things that we've done this year. And so I'm just going to play that for you next, hopefully. Let's see if this works, Debbie.
Okay.
Okay, fingers crossed, we're going to do this. So, okay, oh, I like that that's showing up. Okay, good.
Tourism is the economic driver of Ontario's economy, and TIAO is the authoritative voice of Ontario's tourism industry. Year after year, tourism has continued to grow and become an integral part of both our provincial and national economies. Tourism employs 1.9 million Canadians, 1 in 10 of our entire workforce, and over 720,000 of those jobs are directly attributable to spending by international visitors. In Ontario alone, 65% of businesses saw their operations grow in size between 2018 and 2019, helping to build an industry that supported 200,000 businesses and 400,000 jobs. Tourism was responsible for the livelihoods of 5.5% of Ontarians, created almost 4% of all provincial tax revenues, and was the catalyst of a $36 billion industry. Then, almost overnight, our industry was plunged into uncertainty. With significant revenue losses due to lockdowns, stay-at-home orders, and business restrictions, tourism businesses have faced the perfect storm of rising operation costs paired with consumer uncertainty. We know it has been an unimaginable year, and know that we still have a long way to go. TIAO will continue to support you every step of the way, because TIAO works for you. It works for every Ontarian who owns, runs, or works for a tourism business in our province, listening to you with over 185 stakeholder calls, working with you to create member-driven and evidence-based policy recommendations, supporting you with member briefings that get the breaking news to you first, fighting for you, promoting tourism in the national media, and working to ensure that tourism receives recognition as the economic driver that it is. Trusted by industry with over 1,350 members and growing, we make your voice heard with politicians and policymakers. Throughout this crisis, TIAO has represented the tourism industry at over 500 meetings with government ministers, MPPs, and senior staff, ensuring our sector has a seat at the decision-making table. We've led the way on industry research, advocacy, and policy making, and have won key victories for the tourism industry, including the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, Highly Affected Sectors Credit Availability Program, the Ontario Small Businesses Support Grant, the Canada Emergency Rent Subsidy, Northern Ontario Tax Relief, the Canada Emergency Business Account, the Northern Ontario Recovery Program, and the Ontario Travel Tax Credit that will fuel our recovery. But there is still so much more to do together, and we are not slowing down. We know that our industry is hurting, and TIAO will keep fighting for you and with you. The innovators, the job creators, and the experience makers, all of you will not only rebuild our industry, but make it better. Join us as we continue being your voice, because tourism creates jobs. Tourism drives the economy. Tourism is our future.
Nice.
Okay, so that gives a pretty great overview of everything that we've been involved with this year. And as I mentioned to you, first and foremost, what we are is we are an advocate on behalf of the tourism industry and really recognizing to the provincial government that tourism is an economic driver and a job creator. We want to put our members in front of the key ministers and decision makers. And I just want to make note of, many people think that the main ministry and the only ministry maybe that we speak to is the Ministry of Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Culture Industry. And of course, we meet with them on a pretty regular basis. We have a very good relationship in being able to connect with them. But we do know that tourism spans across many of the ministries. And so we regularly also meet with the Ministry of Finance. We meet with the Ministry of Labor, Skills Training and Skills Development. We also meet with the Attorney General. And that's just a highlight of three, but we regularly meet with at least 17 different ministries, because one of the things we know is that tourism really kind of touches and hits in all of those ministries. And so a lot of times you'll have a portfolio that you think is being handled by one ministry, and it's actually handled by two, or a portion of it is handled by one and a portion by the other. So we try to, just like we are doing together as a tourism industry, we try to make sure that we're informing the different ministries, that we're collaborating with them together so that we have that information and we can actually move decisions forward, because sometimes, as I said, more than one ministry is involved. So one of the things we do is that we provide very detailed briefs for our tourism delegations to lobby with us on changes. And one of the examples of that is at our annual Tourism Day at Queen's Park, where we actually meet with the municipalities. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later, but I do want to let you know it's kind of just around the corner. It's April 15th this year. We had actually knew it was going to be that date for a while, and then when the schools moved March break to being in April, it happens to be in that week, and so it was taken off the table. But we have just been told as late last week that in fact they are going to continue with all of the meetings, and April 15th is happening. So we will be giving you more information about that soon. But so, and as you saw in that video, we are continually meeting with the ministries. We had face-to-face, and when I say face-to-face like this, we're looking at the screen face-to-face. We had over 500 face-to-face meetings last year with ministries. And so this is not just a idle effort. We are on a continual process of trying to make sure that all the key information is known and given as many examples as possible as to what's happening with our stakeholders. Oops, there we go. See, this is why I shouldn't be the person doing this. Okay, here we are. Okay, I'm not making it, and hopefully nobody's been sick by what I've said, but the screen's going back and forth. So this is just, sort of, we all know, but it's important to give it relevance. So the state of the tourism industry in Ontario prior to COVID-19, we were on track to have our best year out there. We had over 400,000 workers in Ontario, 200,000 businesses. We had a revenue of $5 billion. In Canada, we represented 8% of all the jobs, and over 5% here in Ontario. 1 in 10 jobs, like we employ 1 out of every 10 youth, and we're the largest employer of youth in Ontario. And the tourism industry generated 4.2% of Ontario's GDP. So, often people don't, and not to this group. I know this group really understands the impact of tourism on the economy, and they really understand it. But, often when we're speaking to people within the ministry, they don't, they think of tourism not as the fulsome industry that it is. And that's why it's important that we share with them directly the statistics and the economic impact so they know. So $36 billion GDP contribution. We had year over year, 64%, 7% increase in revenue. 1 in 4 all new jobs were in tourism. And, we represented 3.8% of the provincial tax revenues. So then the impacts of COVID-19. So, we saw a 69%, just in Ontario alone, we saw a 69% reduction in revenue. And just if you look at the month of November alone, November to November, the tourism sector employed 466,000 fewer people. So nearly 10% of businesses have laid off their entire staff. The average number of employees lost per business was 19. 66% reduction in tourism spending and 96% drop in international spending. And that makes sense with the borders being closed. The tourism employment declined by 34,400 people in November 2020. So, even as we went further into the year, this Friday marks sort of the year where we all thought we were going to go start working from home for about 2 weeks. We thought it'd be about 2 weeks and then we'd be back. And so, well, certainly as the year has gone on, this has hit harder. So one of the things, even as we look at businesses starting to be able to look at things differently and see areas where they might be able to open as the province moves through its different color zones, one of the things we do know very clearly is the rebuilding of consumer confidence needs to happen. There was a study that just was released yesterday by Destination Ontario. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to see it or read it, but it showed that as of February 23rd, 38% of Ontarians are very comfortable with visitors from nearby, 31% from the rest of Ontario, 25% from the rest of Canada, but only 11% were comfortable with visitors from the States or international. Now, when it comes to traveling, we always hear about this, but there's pent-up demand. 71% of Ontarians are ready to travel somewhere close to them. 55% are within Ontario. 38% are willing to travel across Canada, but only 13% are ready to go to the US, and 14% are ready to travel internationally. So we're still cautious as Ontarians. So we're more eager to travel than we are to have people come to us, and there needs to be a little bit of a balance there come to play. But one of the things that's good, and this might seem like a small number, but it's just moved recently where it's increasing. And this was if you look at January 26th to February 23rd, so in basically just shy of a month, the amount of Ontarians that are thinking it's okay to go to a sporting event, a concert, or a festival has increased in just under 1 month from 23% to 27%. So that's positive, that people are starting to see that there. So, one of the things that we've talked about is that not only do we need to rebuild the consumer confidence, but the visitor confidence, but we also need to make sure that tools are in place that allow Ontarians to have some clarity and to know what they can look at to understand if a place is safe or not. So by rebuilding consumer confidence, this we know will support visitor spendings, it will create jobs, and it will protect our workforce. So one of the things that TIAO has become very much involved with, and we're very proud to say, is the Safe Travel Stamp. The Safe Travel Stamp is a stamp that was an accreditation stamp that was designed by the World Travel and Tourism Council. And TIAO is the designate organization in Canada to administer this stamp. So we do it on behalf of the entire country. However, just so you know, this stamp is the same anywhere around the world. So different areas around, different organizations around the world within tourism that are part of the World Travel and Tourism Council are being able to provide this. And so right now, over 200 global destinations are using this. So the point behind this is that when travel is able to happen again and happen safely, whether it's within the province, within the country, or international, if you see this stamp, you're going to recognize it as this organization is following health and safety protocols as deemed safe by their local area. So it can be things like the post promise, it can be things like dine safe, it can be if you happen to be within, let's say, London, Ontario, and the local municipal health protocols, those are being followed. That's what's important, because those protocols have all been vetted through the World Travel and Tourism Council. What's good about this is that this is a very easy process for festivals, for tourism operators, for destinations to apply to. It's complimentary. There's no cost involved in this at all. It's an easy process with a self-attestation, and we are encouraging people, especially during this time when they're in preparation mode, when they're in pause mode because maybe it's not the season yet, or they're waiting to determine if they're going to be able to open, because this is the time to invest in doing things like this, so that when you're able to market and be ready to travel and it's safe to do so, you can use this as part of your marketing materials.
Carol, before you go on, Spencer asked, is there a breakdown of age groups in relation to the numbers that you mentioned earlier? I saw Carol Pograbia said yes, it is available. Oh, I just saw that. How do we get a hold of that? Is it through the ministry?
Yeah, there's some detail. Oh, someone else.
That's okay, Carol, go ahead.
Of course.
Yeah, there's some detail in the report, but they certainly can give, if you're looking at the difference between seniors versus like couples and families and stuff, they do have some of that data.
Perfect.
This is referring to the Destination Ontario data that I spoke of earlier. Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, and Debbie, I'm happy to forward that that report to you if you would like to include it with this information.
I think we just sent it out I think Jay just sent it out by email blast this morning. So
this morning to everybody.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great.
So the safe travels, is there a checklist? How do people get that?
Yeah, so you can apply for it online. There's a on the TIAO website. If you
Yeah.
go to the Safe Travel Stamp link, there's an application there. It'll show you what you need to fill out. It is a very, as I said, it's a very straightforward process. And you would think with it being so important, it might be more complicated, but we've purposely and worked very closely with the World Travel and Tourism Council to make it so it's not a cumbersome process. But you do have to be following the public health protocols, and that's ultimately what everybody wants to do anyway. So there is, because I'm going to answer this question because we always do get it. It's like, how do you know if someone isn't following it? What's the maintenance on that? And we do have.
Just going to ask that.
Yeah. So we do have standard operating procedures. I will give you an example. There was a location that had the stamp. There was a concern raised about the location and the protocols. And so in that place, we actually had somebody from that community, from the public health unit, actually go and do a test. And it turned out that it wasn't, that they were following all the protocols. It wasn't as stated, so we didn't have to move further. So they were able to maintain their stamp. But it does have, the whole point behind it is that you are following the protocols of your local area.
So it's managed through you?
And the application process, yeah, and
the application process, and then it's supported by the local ministry.
The public health, yeah.
Yes, okay.
So these are just some examples of some of the protocols that are out there, and there's this link here. You don't have to worry about it here. If you actually go to the Safe Travel Stamp part of our website, you will actually see this link here, and you can see all of the different protocols that have been vetted that are there. There's also the Dine Safe, the Safe Stay, and the Post Promise. However, if you have a question about a protocol that you're following, whether it be through your sector, I know that like Canadian Live Music Association has their own set. If you show us what it is, we can check and let you know if that's one that's approved, and so we can go through that process for you. But once again, it's a fairly straightforward process. It takes about 3 to 5 days for the approval process, and then you'll be provided with the stamp. You'll get it in 3 different formats so that you can use it, whether it be on your app, whether it be on your website, or if you want to print it. It's available in both English and French. What's nice about it is that you are able to I shouldn't be doing this because I'm behind on my own slides. I apologize. What's nice about the stamp when you see it is you can have your own company logo or your own festival logo in addition on it, so it becomes branded, and so it's available for you to customize. So you'll have the Safe Travels, and it'll have World Travel and Tourism Council, it'll have TIAO's logo, and it can have your brand. So yeah, go ahead.
Is this applicable to festivals as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they just have to go onto your website and apply for it.
Yeah, and we've actually had some festivals apply for it. And so, because one of the things is that we recognize initially they said you had to be in business, but this is, we said, well, some of them are seasonal, so they're not always, or it's a specific weekend, or it doesn't happen. And that's fine because it's catered to the business. So that's not a problem. So I have, we spoke a little bit about the consumer sentiment, and this once again is something that, we want to make sure you have available to you. So when you're doing the promotion of your festival or your destination, you can use this. Now, we haven't released this video yet because once again, it can be customized to your destination, to your festival with the logo on the corner. But once it's safe for everybody to be able to travel, we will be able to then share this with everybody. We just want to follow the guidelines so that, doing everything when it's safe to do so. So I'm just going to play this video for you on consumer sentiment.
Sound's not working very well.
Sounds. Thanks. And I don't know if any of you saw that at the end. It does say Southern Ontario there, and I know Marnie's here from Timmins, and don't worry, we have one that says we also welcome those in Northern Ontario. So I just want to let you know it's not specific only to Southern. But that will be also available to anybody that wants it. You're going to be able to customize with your own logo on it so that you can use it in promotion as you want to encourage people when it is safe to do so. So when I look at government relations in what TIAO does, so we know that 2/3 of our businesses, 65% state they would have been shut down had it not been for government programs such as CEWS. 71% of the businesses have accessed some of the government assistance, and nationwide, the unemployment rate, although it's fallen to 11%, the tourism industry is significantly higher at 17%. So we have been continually delivering the message that the tourism is a vital industry to Ontario's recovery. And so within the Ontario budget in 2020, it included the following. $100 million was given to support community tourism projects. $25 million was for Ontario art institutions. There was $180.5 million to support workers who had lost their jobs because of COVID-19. And the Ontario tax credit, where $150 million has been allocated for Ontarians to rediscover their province. Now, I will let you know that last one is one that is something that we are trying to get clarity on as to when that will become available. We have been told that likely we will know more about it in April, which makes sense. I mean, the fiscal period goes until March 31st, so that makes sense. We will likely hear more about it in the upcoming budget. We know that it's going to happen. We know that our minister has deemed the year 2021 as the year of the staycation. And so this, we just want to know the details as to how this works. Is it how it's applied so that we can share that information with you, not only as the event providers, the operators, but also as citizens of Ontario as to how it can apply. We also, one of the things that we've also done is that at TIAO, we recognize that membership isn't something that a lot of people have in their budget lines, is something that they're able to afford to do right now when they're really looking at other cost items that are essential. And so we've been able to extend complimentary membership again in 2021. And so this is something that we can extend to anybody within the province of Ontario. And I just want to be clear that it's not just for 2021, it's 365 days from signing in 2021. So if you signed up today, you would go right through to March 8th, 2022. We wanted to extend this to the entire industry. And the reason why is that we look at getting our information that we're able to use in our evidence-based generation strategy. When we give information to the government as to why we ask for things, we like to use specific examples that is actually happening to stakeholders within our industry, and to show that this isn't just blanket statements that we're asking. This is actually real people. This is real livelihoods. This is real businesses that it's impacting. And so the more members we have in the broader scope that we can hear your story and with your permission, of course, use it as an example, we're able to do so. So if that's something that you aren't already a member, we have over 1,400 organizations as members as part of TIAO across Ontario. We would encourage you to sign up with us. We do have weekly stakeholder calls on Tuesdays in the afternoon, where we give updates on what is happening in the industry and what the latest is with our actions and with the government. Just a weekly update, and we answer questions at that time. Did you have a question, Debbie?
Yeah, I did. Somebody asked about, you can tell. Somebody asked, Ellie asked about, I believe about the money that is being off the grants. Can bus tour operator companies apply to any of these?
It depends, and I know that's a terrible answer. It depends specifically what you're wanting to use it for. If it's a particular sort of project and an event that's unique, there's applications for that. I would probably need to know a little bit more what you are looking at, and I can maybe direct you to the location where there's different grants. We list them on our website so that you can see all the ones that are available. But I might be able, just because I communicate so much with our policy team and also with the ministry on these grants, because it's a common question, I might be able to direct you to different ones where it might be suited to you. So I'm happy to take that question.
So Ellie can contact you after?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
great.
No problem. And I'm happy to share my answer as well, so that it, if anybody else has that question too.
Perfect, thank you.
No problem. So, and I just wanted to let you know, we do also have a program at TIAO, and I just wanted to explain it. So we call it green shoots. Green shoots is a term used to describe signs of economic recovery or positive data during an economic downturn. It's a reference to plant growth and recovery. So if it starts to show signs of health and life, it's really been used as a metaphor to describe a recovering economy. And so some of our members have said, well, you know what, we are in a position where we would like to pay our membership, and thank you. And so what we've done is we still extend the complimentary membership, but their money goes into green shoots and supports the advocacy efforts. We are a not-for-profit. I just wanted to explain to you what that meant if you saw it on our website. Because I need to tell you, over the past year, listening on the stakeholder calls and on weekly, and then talking to individuals, I mean, the stories of businesses, as devastating as they are, there's others that are quite inspirational as to how that they've been able to adapt. There's, as I said, there's some areas also that, you know, just really sort of haven't had the support yet that is well needed. And so, but the one thing that's very clear to me is sort of those walls have come down. There's so much more collaboration, and our industry is really resilient, and we're willing to do what we need to do together to come out. So I very much enjoy connecting with people, and if there's things that we can do to help, we absolutely will do that for them.
Are you finding lots of innovation happening within the industry?
Yeah, a lot of innovation. And in fact, it's one of the things that we're going to start showcasing a little bit more, so that other people can see what others have done. And I think some of the things, you know, they're innovation for the sake of innovation and survival mode. And then there's other parts that are innovation where people, I think, are going to, it will stay beyond, you know, when things get, you know, to whatever back the new normal is, you know, whatever, they might continue to do this because it's been very efficient. So one of the things we always tell government is you can't expect an economic recovery without first supporting the tourism and hospitality industry. And you can't have a thriving tourism and hospitality industry without the consumer. And so we want to continue to do what we need to do to educate the consumer, work with our partners like Destination Ontario and the ministry to help deliver those messages. And when I say those aren't our only two partners, we obviously work with the sectors and many others as well, but really having that communication so that we're all on the same page. And oh, that's my 35 minutes. And I think and look at that. See, I just
Good timing.
Yeah, wow, I didn't even and I can't turn it off apparently now, so that's annoying. I'll just turn this down here. Okay. So it's like I can't turn it off. So that's my presentation. Debbie, did you have any other questions that you wanted to
ask? I have a couple of questions for you. So, and then anybody who's in the audience, you can take your screen down if you want, so that we can get to see everybody.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So what have you specifically done around asking the provincial government around festivals and events, like to address that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I will tell you that, I mean, first of all, one of the things we do before we ever put together our briefs and things that we take to the government is we do reach out to the businesses, as I've mentioned, and we reach out to the sectors. So, you know, we've spoken to Dave, and Dave's been involved with giving us feedback as to what's happening. From your perspective, we've also talked to Canadian Live Music, which is also very involved in your area, and people like that. But I can tell you there's sort of 6 key areas that we've currently asked for and that we will be representative at Tourism Day at Queen's Park. They were part in our pre-budget submissions. One of the things is that we want a sector-specific hardest hit recovery fund. Stimulus grants that really complement CEWS, CERB, SECRA, and HASCAP that many of them have been very, you know, good for our industry. Some of them, there's organizations within our industry that they just kind of don't quite qualify. And so we want to have something that's a little bit, you know, can fill those gaps for those areas that have been missed. We're also asking for regulatory fairness. You know, there's some inconsistencies across the industry as to what can be open and what can't be. And a lot of that is about clarity. Maybe if we understood it a little bit more, and I recognize that, you know, they're following public health protocols, and we understand that, but if we could communicate that and educate a little bit more, it allows us to plan and be more effective. So that regulatory fairness is something we've asked for. We also are looking at an action on commercial insurance. Now, commercial insurance really is a federal issue. It's not a provincial issue. Many of our tourism operators, you know, their insurance claims, you know, it's 400, 600%. And so that's a real, you know, that can be debilitating to your business. It can be a matter of moving forward or not. And so, as most of you know, Beth Potter, our president and CEO, is taking on a new job starting Monday of next week. And she will be the president and CEO of TIAO, or working with the federal organization. And so, in that role, I mean, she's obviously very involved and been very much with us in the commercial insurance issue and been working with TIAO. But now having her there and us continuing to work on that, that is something that we will be doing jointly together through Ontario and with the federal government. The fourth one is we're asking for a clear path to reopening. And what we mean by that is there's sort of 2 areas. It's once again, it's around that clarity. If you know, you can plan. And so it's, if we get to a certain amount of vaccines, what does that mean? If we, you know, if we have, how many numbers can be in an area? I mean, many of the festivals are outdoor. You know, there's ways that they can be done safely, but is it percentage or is it numbers? And because sometimes they use percentages in some area and numbers in others. So there's a whole conversation around capacity there. Access to testing, that is something also that we're asking for. And consumer confidence strategies is really understanding how we can help the consumers have that confidence to be able to start moving around Ontario when it's safe to do so. So those are the main
What do you
areas.
mean by access to testing?
Well, there's been a lot of conversations recently, and some of them a little controversial. I'll put it out there that, frontline hospitality workers are right there. And so should they have access to the vaccines? And so now they're starting to list numbers and sort of what the priority is. And there has been, as I said, we work with our partners. So we work with ORMA, and we work with different organizations that have put this forward. And so it's part of that conversation. It's like, when can we have our individuals vaccinated?
Got it. Thanks for that.
No problem.
Cool. Again, anyone who has questions, feel free to put it in our chat. Jay's been filling in some of your questions. Thank you so much for that. How can our stakeholders be involved with TIAO?
Yeah, so I mean, be a member.
If they want to.
Yeah, if they want to, and that's fair, So be a member, first of all. I mean, it's complimentary. If there's ever a year to try it, this is the year. Know that, as I said, by being a member of TIAO doesn't mean you don't need to be a member of something else. We're an advocacy organization. That's what we do. We don't market your business. We work very closely with the sector associations to make sure that we're really representing the industry. But the reason why we ask individual members or operators to be members or events to be members is because sometimes if a sector is representing the sector, that might not be your individual need. So it allows us to do the individual need, the sector's need, and tourism overall. Attend Tourism Day at Queen's Park. I need to tell you that even though when I say attend, once again, like this, virtually, looking at a screen, it's a really great way to see how the system works. We're very conscious of the fact that some people don't like to come to Tourism Day at Queen's Park because they're nervous as to what to say. They've never done this before. How does it work? And especially when it's virtual, we go through a guidance process and we kind of mentor you through it. So you don't have to say anything. If you want to say something, you can, but it just shows you how the process works, and it allows you to have a little bit more of an understanding. And so I would encourage you right now, you can register. Once again, it's complimentary to attend that. So I would say get involved that way. And share your story with your sector. Tell what's going on so that we can support you.
How many people usually show up to that?
Well, when we're in person, we typically have around 45, and we've kind of done that purposefully just so we're not overwhelming when we come in.
Right.
We have a lot more flexibility on virtual. We still have to communicate who's attending for the ministry's sake, but we've had upwards of 65, 70 people. Not on one call.
Different sectors?
Yeah, we not on one call. We do it, and
Okay.
We'll show you what the appointments are. But but it's a great opportunity to, as I said, see how the system works.
Perfect. Thank you. And how do you you talk a lot about statistics. How do you get your stats?
We get them from a lot of different areas. So first of all, I'm sure, and I know many of you have participated in surveys that we've done. We actually have a 10th survey coming out. And so that is directly from the stakeholders and operators themselves. We also work with our partners. I quoted statistics that came from Destination Ontario just yesterday. We also work with Deloitte, Global Payments. If anybody has been at a summit, you've seen that we partner with Global Payments on spending. And as we are members, not only, as I said, we communicate with TIAC, but we also communicate with the PTTIA, which is Provinces, Territories, Tourism Industry Association. So it's sort of like the TIAOs, but across Canada. So we communicate with them as well. And then, of course, we're part of the World Travel and Tourism Council. So we really look at sort of the whole picture so that we're able to bring realistic information. And as I said, all the information we bring to the provincial government is on evidence. So.
And about Beth leaving, that's sad news for you, exciting for her. So I understand you're going to be the acting CEO?
Yes, that is correct. And yes, you're right.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It is sad for us, but really, you know, that's about a second that we feel that way because it's so great for the industry.
It really is.
Yeah, and so to have her in the national, I kind of feel that Ontario has a little bit of an advantage in this. So, you know, and I like to tell everybody that she's keeping her same phone numbers, so make sure Ontario is represented. No, it's great for the industry. You know, Beth has always done so, but more so than ever before, has shown incredible leadership in this past year. We were proud that she was recognized yesterday as one of the top 50 women in North America for in tourism for leadership. And so she
congratulations to Beth.
Yeah, so that was pretty awesome. And so you know, so it's great for her. Yes, I am the interim while we're looking for our president and CEO. Those applications are open, so if anybody knows of anybody, please go ahead and send in the application. But we have a pretty strong group. Chris Bluer, who is our VP of Policy and Government Affairs, is incredibly skilled at government relations, which I'm very thankful for. And so he takes the lead on that, and I take the lead on the other end. And so, and we have a great team working with us. Thanks for putting that up there, Jay. He's on it. He's just.
Oh, he is on it. He always is on it. That's great. That's great. I don't have any questions. I'd like to open it up to the floor to see if anybody else has any questions. Put them in the chat or unmute yourself and shout it out.
I'll just tell you, just sort of while we're waiting, I mean, one of the things that we do sort of throughout the year is we also attend events like ROMA and AMO, which is the Rural Ontario Municipalities Association Conference, where you deal with mayors or the Association of Municipality Officers. And often Dave has been part of our tourism delegation and really representing festivals and events right on the front lines with us. So, and when he can't be there, we obviously represent you directly, but it's always great to have Dave with us.
Wonderful. We're great for Dave. We're grateful for Dave as well. Okay, I think that's, Gilbert, did you have something? I saw you unmute yourself. Okay, great, go for it.
Thank you so much, Carol, for the presentation. I appreciate it. And your slide work was really good. You know, not to worry. You did well on the presentation. So my name is Gilbert Estefan, and I'm with Informa. We produce Fan Expo, the one-of-a-kind shows, the interior design shows, and all the art shows across the city of Toronto.
Yeah.
My question, Carol, is regarding the work that you do across TIAC and different city municipalities. Do you also sort of align with Destination Toronto in terms of what they're doing from a welcoming people back? So I love the open up video that you showcased us. You gave us a sneak peek of. Yeah. But are you working closely as well with Destination Toronto and other DMOs around aligning with sort of the key messaging to welcome people back?
Absolutely. So just so you know, when I say that we represent the tourism industry, it kind of is blocked into 5 areas. We represent the regional tourism organizations, of which there's 13 in Ontario, then the destination marketing organizations, so as large as Toronto to, and no disparaging to Clarington, but as small as Clarington. We also represent all the sector associations, the tourism operators, suppliers to the industry as well, and then any post-secondary education that has hospitality, tourism, or culinary in their programming. So it really is all encompassing. Specifically to Toronto and Destination Toronto themselves, not only is Andrew Weir about to become our chair of our board, we're very involved with them, but also you know, we have a very strong relationship with the Metro Toronto Convention Center, and we also work very closely with Meetings Mean Business Canada, and we're part of the GPTA. And so we understand the importance of the meetings market and how that impacts. And so we're working with them, as well as the Shaw Center in Ottawa and you know, the Niagara Convention Center and that. So we are directly linked with them, and so that we have this alignment. And in fact, this past year, we were able to be the purveyor flow through of $30 million to the destination marketing organizations within Southwestern Ontario. Southeastern Southwestern Ontario. Fed North took care of the North. We were part of the Fed Dev program. And so we worked with 57 different DMOs across, and they were actually part of the making of that consumer sentiment video. And we really worked with them on understanding some of the issues they had that they were experiencing, especially in the summertime, where people were coming to camping or going into the parks and weren't necessarily leaving them as nicely as when they arrived. And so it was this understanding of educating not only resident sentiment, but also consumer sentiment, as that was the purpose around when those videos were designed, was to support that so that they could use them when they start their marketing efforts.
Okay, great, fantastic. Yeah, I sit on a committee with Andrew Weir, actually, with Destination Toronto. It's called the Community Engagements Committee. Yeah. And it's a committee that is formulated of various different attractions and events, you know, the restaurants and the like, every aspect of what tourism hits on, really, within the city. And it's actually rather, you know, interesting to see how the collaborations that are happening, not just within the events business, but from the restaurants and BIAs and so many different elements. And I think that it really, you know, shows the strength of the industry from across all sort of sectors within the tourism industry. It's amazing, all the people that you meet and all the, you know, the ideas that are being shared across the aisle, so to speak. So, but thank you very much for your presentation, and Debbie and Dave, thank you very much for hosting it.
Thanks, Gilbert. We also, you know, we partnered this year. We normally have it in the past, but this year, to your point about collaboration and people, sort of the non-usual suspects working so closely together and doing such a great job in the support local, we partnered with OBIAA, which is the Ontario Business Improvement Agencies. And so, you know, I know John Mamela at Destination Toronto is working with Tabia, and others are working with their own business improvement agencies, because so many of the restaurants and those small businesses are working together as part of tourism and part of small business, and how they all interrelate. So it's nice to see that collaboration for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, I think there's no more questions, and we're kind of running out of time. So we've got a few minutes, but yeah, I think that's it, Carol. Thank you so much for your time and for the presentation. It was really informative and really, eye-opening again for those for many of us who may not know exactly what it is that you do. So thank you so much for that. Yeah. Next week, we are going to have Jolene McDonald from Accessibrand going to be talking about accessibility on your website and in your marketing materials. So with that, I thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you next week. Don't forget to register. Thanks again, Carol, and congratulations.
Thank you, Debbie. Bye-bye.